This is my brother Johann. Johann, say hi.
Hi!
And he was born with visual challenges, although we know that in his other senses he is much more sensitive and sharper than we can ever be. There's a puddle at the bottom. He can see shapes and colors, and he can even identify alphabets to some extent if it's big and it's white on black. But it's definitely very different to deal with him than dealing with anyone else. And there hasn't really been a rule book of sorts in how to do that, how to go about that. So this is for all those people who come across someone who's visually challenged and they don't know how to deal with them. They want to kind of include them in what they're experiencing, but they don't know how to do that. This is for you. There are lots of things, including videos, that are more visual than anything else. These things I really want to explain to him. For example, eye contact. Eye contact while you're talking to someone is so important to determine whether they're following you or interested in what you're saying or not.
I had a dream of Papa playing the violin. I heard him play some...
Yana Akita's not interested. You can tell me.
I heard him play the violin. I heard Papa play the violin.
I'm sure he can sense whether I'm angry or sad or happy if he's talking to me, but I'd like to tell him my expressions rather than just saying something at the end. The next thing is with describing surroundings. I used to get a little bit irritated because he constantly asked me, what color you wearing? What color is the violin that's being played in the movie right now? But I realized this is extremely important for him to form a mental picture in his head. So it's very important information that should not be denied from him, for him to know what's going on. And so I make it a point to tell him as much as possible what everything looks like. Especially things far away, especially if we're watching a movie. I have to describe these things, and it's a small thing that you can do. The next thing that is important is to describe activity to him. When I'm reading that. What happens if I don't explain to him what I'm doing is that he may feel left out, right?
Yeah.
And I realized maybe after half an hour that he was sitting there and waiting for me probably to just notice him, and it just breaks my heart. Especially because I'm living with him, it's okay to be honest with him and say, listen, I don't want to talk right now, just like I would to anyone else, rather than just ignore him or feel bad to tell him I don't want to talk right now. He may get a little annoyed with me, right? What do you do? Annoyed? Yeah. But that's a very normal response when you realize you're not able to talk to someone you wanted to talk to. The next thing is describing social cues and etiquette. Like, I had to tell him where the camera is facing there. And I had to tell him sit a bit straight, which he is not, and neither am I. But I think we are going out of frame, so a little lower, yeah. Some people may feel bad and say, no, let them be, it's okay, which I think is harmful. Because you don't let people who do see, you don't let them just behave any which way they want to. If we're going to some place where everyone is kind of still and they're not moving much, and if he does his rocking, do you rocking in that? Yeah, if he does this kind of thing, I think it's important for me to tell him, no one is doing that, it's better you don't. Because if he would be able to see people not rocking, I'm sure he wouldn't do that. It's natural to copy what others are doing around you. Other than that, we love to see him do certain things that we don't do. Sometimes it's enviable that he cannot really know exactly how people are looking at him, because that brings about fear in some people. Whereas in him, he just is blissfully oblivious, and so it enables him to... Are you yawning?
I closed my mouth and yawned.
You know, the camera can still see that though.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically, we do not always restrict Johann from moving however he wants, but there are times and places for everything. The next thing is to do with teaching. It is extremely difficult to teach Jonah how to dance. Because if I were teaching my sister, I would just let her see what I'm doing. But Johann, I have to literally move his hands, and sometimes it's really difficult. And my mom knows this. When she is teaching him things like business studies, a lot of abstract things can be described with certain visual cues, but without that it's really hard sometimes to explain what is leadership, what is this and that, and my mom has a very cool way of doing that.
So give me a hand, Johann.
Yeah.
So communication is
Communication is...
the process of sharing 5 things.
Yes.
What's that? What do we have for lunch today? Is that a fact? Yeah, information is getting it from me. 5 things you're going to share with me. Can I write T?
Yeah.
T. T for?
Thoughts.
And she used that kind of example to teach him these concepts. So the aim of all of this is to make him as independent as possible, and he has natural talents like picking up music, instruments in 1 minute, literally.
Here we go. Faith, I can move the mountains. I can do all things through Christ. I know faith, standing and believing. I can do all things through Christ, who strengthens me. Faith.
He's picked up the bass guitar and keyboard just by sitting in it and playing. I am not kidding. Even the drums. Anyway, right now Johann is an extremely happy boy, very independent. What you doing?
Vihan study accepts deposits of money.
Very fun to be around. Yeah. His perspective on things is very different, but not only that, he's very clever and he's using other senses even more than we are using eyes. How I cut my hair is only by touch, it's not by looking. If I look, I may make mistakes, but if I just touch, it's more precise. Things like that I have to learn from Johann. So Johann, thank you for sitting with me through this video. I hope you guys learned from Johann through this, and we'll take some of the information from this video, and if you come across someone who is visually challenged, you'll be able to deal with them in a way that benefits both of you. This is Vihan Damaris and Johann Rajpillai on How To Thursdays, signing off. We're gonna do this. See what I do? I do signing off. Signing off. Okay, anyway, bye.